This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Over 25 years helping leaders reducing errors and incidents. Here is your host of the Essential Leadership Cycle podcast, Rob Fisher.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Essential Leadership Cycle podcast. I'm your host and intentional leader, Rob Fisher, coming to you from the ArrowHP.com studios in the Fit Center for Excellence here in Concord, North Carolina. In the last episode, we described the 6th attribute of the Essential Leadership Cycle, commitment. I hope listeners immediately use some of the recommendations at the end of the podcast to start making changes in their intentional leadership. By now, you should have downloaded the eColors app and are using that information to manage your strengths and potential limiters in your day-to-day interactions. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the next attribute of the Essential Leadership Cycle, accountability. Oh yeah, we finally got there. I know some of you have been waiting. Heck, some of you have already made comments like, where's the accountability in all this? Or one of the reasons I struggle with HOP is there's no accountability in it. Well, that's just not true. What may be true is that the leaders in your organization, you see what I did there, may not fully understand the interaction of human and organizational performance and accountability based on what we know from over 25 years of deploying and integrating HOP concepts. When I talk to leadership teams and even leaders individually, they tend to think that accountability falls at each component of the Essential Leadership Cycle. Most especially when I ask them to place where most organizations would put accountability in the cycle, they answer near the front. So by that logic, self and team awareness, going to hold you accountable. Shared vision and values, going to hold you accountable. Clarity of roles and processes, say it with me, going to hold you accountable. But here's what we've observed from our over 25 years of experience in this field. In high-performing organizations, and we've seen a lot of them over the years, you almost never hear them talk about accountability. Now, does that mean these high-performing organizations don't have accountability? Well, no. In fact, they're among the most accountable organizations and individuals. I'm accountable to myself and you. You're accountable to me. We're accountable to the organization and the process. We're all accountable for the outcomes, and the organization is accountable to us. But in every case I can remember, that accountability was developed, not demanded, in high-performing organizations. But, and you have to be the honest judge of your organization here, in almost every organization that we have seen that believes they struggle with accountability, they talk about it all the time. The leaders complain about it. The workforce complains about it. They bring in a new leader with a bigger iron fist to put some accountability into the organization. Those people tend to last a few years at most, and then they move on. We won't even talk about what that does to an organization. And then some even replace that person with an even heavier-handed manager because the first one obviously couldn't solve this pesky accountability problem with the workforce. I've seen management teams wholesale changed out because a senior manager didn't think they had enough accountability. It's actually pretty sad if you think about it. The number of lives that are adversely impacted because of a leader misunderstanding and misapplying accountability. Leaders who confuse accountability with discipline cause way more harm than good. The Essential Leadership Cycle, if done correctly and in order, organically develops strong individual and organizational accountability, and it does it very quickly. Having good roles, responsibilities, accountabilities, and authorities developed and adhered to infuses accountability into the organization's processes and individuals. Intentional leaders define their culture. If a leader is accountable, then they can ask the team and the individuals to be accountable. The intentionality of the leader needs to be around the values, processes, and behaviors that exhibit their own accountability first. It amazes me the number of times that I've seen leaders want to hold someone accountable for something they empowered the individual to do, but they didn't ensure the individual was enabled to do it. Empowerment is a great first step, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough. If you use the science-based understanding of the HOP concepts related to performance modes, if the organization hasn't taught people how to recognize when they're in knowledge-based performance mode where the error rate can be as high as 50%, then they have empowered them and expected them to stop work when they're unsure, but they haven't enabled them to do it. Trying to hold people accountable for things that you haven't enabled them to do starts to deteriorate trust and commitment. It can also be tied back to a self and team awareness and shared vision and value issue. So what can you do? Use your intentionality as a leader to really understand, in other words, become self and team aware, what accountability is, where it resides on the essential leadership cycle, why it is there, and how you can ensure it's used effectively. Verify someone has been enabled before you jump to wanting to hold them accountable. And then intentionally provide personal accountability to the processes you use, as well as the outcomes you get. Be the leader that leads, instead of the leader that is looking for something or someone to blame. Until next time, I've been your host, Rob Fisher. Thanks for listening, and remember, intentional leadership starts with you.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Hey, I'm Andy, and I started Harry's, the shaving company that's fixing shaving. At Harry's, we keep it simple. We make sharp, durable blades and offer them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We obsess over quality so much that we do crazy things, like buy a German razor blade factory. So give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for only $3 with free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5. Hey, I'm Andy, and I started Harry's, the shaving company that's fixing shaving. Here's why some of our customers choose Harry's.
The blades are about $2 each.
I get a nice, clean shave every time.
The blades stay sharp for plenty of shaves.
Thanks, guys. And for everyone else, give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter EASY at checkout. That's harrys.com, code EASY.